Hey you guys, my name is Bree. I'm a makeup artist in Nashville and I wanted to do a full face tutorial on one of my favorite looks. It's a natural, everyday kind of look, very easy to achieve. It's just a simple cut crease. I actually forgot to film the intro at the end, so these are just some pictures from the photo shoot that I did following the tutorial. Make sure you subscribe, leave any questions, comments, anything, and definitely enjoy. All the products I use are MAC, unless stated otherwise. The first two things that I used were MAC Green Gel Cleanser and Volcanic Ash Wash. They're really good to help control oil. Then I cleaned up my eyebrows, making sure that I pulled the hairs the direction of the hair growth. And I used a hot towel before just to kind of ease the pain of me plucking my eyebrows. Next, I use oil control lotion and a 130 brush. That's going to help me maintain a matte finish all day. I just kind of moisturize my face everywhere, making sure to get my T-zone really good in the areas where I'm oily. Next, I'm going to use Prep and Prime Natural Radiance all over my face. Then I'm going to do my eyebrows. I outline the top and then I outline the bottom just to kind of make sure I'm going along with the shape that I already have. On the sides, I don't have a lot of hairs over there, so I just kind of draw it in and make it a little longer to connect to the bottom of my eye. Then I'm going to feather in towards the edges because I like that faded look. I think it's a little more natural. Your brows are not opaque all the way through. And I just go back and forth to achieve the desired look that I want. Then I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other eye. Outline the top and then outline the bottom. Fill in where I don't have any hairs. Make it a little more full, and then towards the edge, fade it in a little bit and just kind of keep playing with it back and forth and use your fingers to, help achieve that look. It may take you a few times, but you'll get the hang of it. To give the highlight effect around my eyebrows, I use Studio Finish Concealer in NW25. And I'm going to do the same thing, outline the bottom, outline the top, just around the brow that I've already kind of created. This is really good if you hate your brow shape or if you kind of want to change it up. This will help you do that. It's a very opaque concealer, so you don't need a whole lot. If you mess up, don't worry, you can go back over it with the shadow later. Then I'm going to take that brush and just kind of drag it down to help blend it a lot better. Now the brush I'm using is the same dual brush from Sephora, but it would be equivalent to a MAC brush number 212. You can use a different color concealer that's not as light if you want to use one, that's closer to the color of your complexion. But it's just really important to drag down those lines so it's not so harsh and easy to blend. I use my fingers to kind of blend over it. The warmth of my fingers makes the concealer a little easier to, maneuver on your face. Then I kind of go back over it with the eyeshadow just to make it much darker in my actual brow and to clean up any lines that I may have messed up with the concealer. I'm taking a 217 brush just to blend around and just kind of blend it all over. I'm using that same 217 brush to apply soft ochre to my eyes. It's a 15-hour wear, prolonged wear paint pot by MAC. It's a cream texture eyeshadow, so you can use it by itself, but I like to use it as a primer so it makes my eyeshadows last just as long as, the prolonged wear pot itself, 15 hours. I'm going to blend all over in a rainbow motion, kind of like a windshield wiper back and forth. This is Bamboo. This is a paint that I'm using, same type of technique, back and forth all over my eyelid. This has very little shimmer in it, so it kind of makes the eyeshadow stand out a little more vivid. Now I'm using a 286 and I'm applying the eyeshadow rice paper underneath my brow bone. Same thing on the other side, just to kind of enhance that highlighted effect around my brows. And I'm making sure that it's very well blended back and forth. It's optional to use the color Arena as your transition color, just to make sure that when you apply any other color, it's going to be well blended. Now I'm using the color Brown Down in my crease, and I'm doing a cut crease, so I'm going to start off towards the edge of my eye and go in a rainbow kind of motion back and forth like a windshield wiper towards the inner corner of my eye. And I'm using the same 217 brush that I used to apply the primer. And I'm just going to keep going back and forth to make sure that it's well blended. Always with your makeup, you want to make sure that it's very well blended so there's no harsh lines. Everything looks very seamless. You can't tell where one color starts and another color ends. So I'm doing the exact same thing to this eye, and I'm just kind of going back and forth with adding more color depending on how dark you want it to be. Brown Down may be discontinued, but there are a lot of pretty brown colors that you can do this with. Now I'm applying Brulee, and I'm just using a patting kind of motion just to apply the color there with the same 217 brush. I'm doing the exact same thing to the other eye, applying it right underneath that cut crease that we did with the first brown color. Now I'm using the 286 brush. It doesn't pick up as much color, as much deposit, so it's good for blending. And I just kind of go back and forth to make sure it's as blended as possible. Now I'm using Gently Off Eye and Lip Makeup Remover. It's extremely sensitive, so I love using it around my eyes. I'm cleaning up any of the eyeshadow fallout from underneath my eyes, as well as making a sharp kind of angled line for the edge of my eyeshadow, which is, my personal preference. And I'm just using a cotton ball from, like Walmart or something. Next, I'm using a 266 brush, which can also be used for your brows, and I'm going to make a straight line, kind of aligned with my bottom lash line, and then I'm going to make an angled line on the top, and then just drag it all the way over to the corner of my eye. I'm using the Fluid Line Black Track. It's a gel liner. It is a cream kind of texture, but it dries instantly, and it dries to a matte finish, so I really like it. It's a lot easier to use as opposed to a liquid liner. Sometimes you have to be much more precise with it. And I'm just going to keep going back and forth to make sure that line is even all the way through and as straight as possible. And then I'm going to get really close into my lash line so that when I apply the lashes, you can't tell, that there's any shadow there. You can't tell the difference. It may take a while to kind of perfect it, but eventually you'll get it. And I just keep going back and forth just to make sure it's not too thick in some areas. Next, I'm going to apply my lashes. These are number 36 by MAC, and I'm just using my thumb to kind of pull them in the, direction that they're facing. And I use the Black Track, what's left on the 266 brush, and just take it across the lash line so that you don't see the band that's there, the white band. Now I'm taking some tweezers and I'm just applying the glue on the lash line, not too much. And I'm using bonding glue, bought at a local hair store. I apply mine with tweezers because I just feel like it's a little easier. I blow on it a little bit just so that I can get tacky. The glue can get a little tacky. There's me singing. And then I kind of hold my eyes slanted so that I can really get close to my lash line. And just kind of use the tweezers to place them, on my lash line and make sure that it's perfectly there. And then I do the exact same thing. Apply a little glue to the edge of the lash line, blow on it really quickly so that it becomes kind of tacky so that it'll actually stick when I apply the lashes. And just use the tweezers to place them right along my lash line. I'm using the same Studio Finish concealer in NW25 and a sponge and just kind of blotting the concealer underneath my eyes. And I'm taking it all the way over to my hairline just so that my highlight is consistent, all the way under my eyes. And then I take it down to about to the side of my nose and just kind of blot it. Now I'm using NC45 Studio Finish concealer just to kind of cover up a few blemishes that I have so that my foundation, looks nice and even over my skin and my skin tone when I apply it. Some people I know use Studio Finish concealer as their foundation. It's very opaque, so like I said, you don't need a whole lot. Now I'm using Studio Sculpt and a 187 brush. Studio Sculpt is very moisturizing and hydrating for your skin, and it is full coverage, so that's really why I like it. But the oil control lotion that I applied earlier is going to help maintain a matte finish underneath this type of foundation. So depending on your moisturizers and primers, that will allow you to use different type of foundations that may not be, preferred for your skin type, but you may like something about it, like I like the coverage of this foundation. So I'm just going in circular motions and evenly applying it everywhere. I'm making sure that I'm not going too far up underneath my eye because I don't want to cover up the highlight that I've already placed there with a concealer. This is a full coverage foundation, so you don't need a whole lot. I squeezed very little on my brush and it's kind of going all over my face. It's always better to start with less and then you can build your foundation or build the look that you want because less is more, and it's easier to add more than it is to take away. This is Select Sheer Pressed. It's a powder foundation. I'm using the color NW25. It leaves a silky matte finish, so it's perfect to go along with the Studio Sculpt foundation. And I'm using a 109 contour brush to apply it underneath my eyes, down my nose, on my forehead, and on my chin, just where you want the areas of your face highlighted. I'm using the exact same powder in NC45 just to kind of dust all over my face to give my foundation that kind of finish, and then I'm blotting it a little heavier in areas where I have blemishes, so the same areas that I use the concealer in. And I'm using the exact same 109 contour brush. Make sure that you blend it really well around your chin area. Now I'm using a 224 brush with dark mineralized skin finish. The one that I'm holding in my hand is a special edition, but the color that I used from that one is dark. And I'm just going to kind of lightly brush it in that color and run it alongside my nose to contour my nose a little bit. The mineralized skin finishes are not very heavy in color. They're very sheer, so they're perfect for a light natural contour. And then, like I said, you can always add more and, you know, create a darker desired look if you want to. Now I'm using Studio Fix powder in NW50 to do a more heavy contour in my cheeks. Now once you do your highlight and your foundation, your kind of contour lines will be much easier to see, so it'll be easier for you to follow. I'm using the same 109 contour brush, and I'm just going to kind of lightly dust it around the edges of my forehead. See there how before I placed it there, you can already kind of see the contour line. I do it heavier towards my hairline and then kind of fade it in towards my cheeks. Same thing, apply a little bit around the temples of your forehead. And just make sure it's well blended and not too heavy. I'm using Dainty blush. It's just a very universal light pink blush. And I'm just going to kind of place it right above that contour that I just did. Kind of blend it around, play with it a little bit, just to kind of make sure it looks, you know, all like one. It looks very natural. Now I'm using the pigment Naked as another highlight. Naked is good for kind of like a medium skin complexion like mine. You can use Gold Deposit if you're a deeper skin tone, more of a chocolate skin tone, and Vanilla if you're very fair. So I just apply it right above the blush and just kind of, you know, stipple the brush into my cheeks just to kind of, you know, place it there and make it look a little more natural. And then I just run it down the bridge of my nose to emphasize that highlight. Same thing on my chin and on my forehead, and then just kind of go back and forth and blend. Makeup is all about blending and everything looking seamless all together, like, you know, one look, one color. Well, not really one color, but you know what I mean. Now I'm using Ruby Woo and Kiss Me Quick liner. Ruby Woo is like the exact same color as Riri Woo. It's a retro matte finish, so it's extremely matte. It has no shine, no moisture, anything, so it stays put all day. I put my lipstick on first just to kind of place the color everywhere, and then I use this Pro Longwear lip pencil to outline my lips and really kind of shape them. They're the exact same color as one another, so you'll kind of see me going over and over with one. And I start from the bottom and then I go to the top and then just kind of, you know, work it around everywhere and make sure that it's an even color everywhere. Now I'm using Feline Kohl eye pencil and Hot and Naughty mascara. Kohl pencils are approved for your eyelid as well as your waterline. And then I'm just going to kind of use a back and forth motion with the mascara wand just to blend my real lashes with the false lashes I've put on. I just use a back and forth wiggle motion just to kind of focus more on my real lashes. And then get your bottom lashes, same kind of motion, wiggle back and forth. I use Urban Decay's All Nighter Oil Control Setting Spray. Fan it. And then I just kind of use my finger and pat anywhere where, you know, any concealer sticking out or anything. And we're all done. It's the final look. Again, leave your comments, suggestions,